When we think of history, we think everything that's recorded is the absolute truth. But the truth is, history is mostly what survived, not what actually happened. Ever thought what knowledge burned inside the great Library of Alexandria? Who built the underground city of Derinkuyu, and what were they hiding from? What do the undeciphered symbols of the Indus Valley really say? And why are millions of ancient clay tablets still sitting unread because no one can understand their writing? History isn't a complete story. It's a riddling puzzle with most of the pieces missing. And sometimes, the missing pieces are far more interesting than the ones we've found. So for today's video, we'll be looking at 15 lost history mysteries that no one has been able to explain. Number 15. The Ark of Gabriel, the relic too deadly to touch. People usually think every powerful relic belongs to the distant past. But what if one of the most frightening stories didn't begin thousands of years ago? What if it started only a few years back? According to a controversial manuscript called Gabriel's Instructions to Prophet Muhammad, the Archangel Gabriel entrusted the Prophet Muhammad with a mysterious box of immense power and ordered that it remain sealed until the day of resurrection. The text claims it was buried beneath the very place where angels worshipped before the creation of mankind, a place many identify as Mecca. And then came 2015. While construction crews were expanding the Grand Mosque, rumors spread that something had been discovered beneath the site. Soon after, a crane collapse claimed more than 100 lives, followed weeks later by the deadliest Hajj stampede in modern history. The official investigations done by Saudia blamed the weather and overcrowding. The legend tells a very different story. It claims both disasters happened after attempts were made to move the Ark. There isn't any evidence proving that claim, but the story refuses to disappear, and that's exactly why people still talk about the Ark of Gabriel today. Number 14. The deadly war machines of Debus Bellicis. The Roman Empire wasn't defeated in a single day. It spent centuries fighting to hold itself together. By the 4th century, barbarian invasions, political struggles, and a weakening economy had pushed Rome into one of the most difficult periods in its history. That's when someone came up with an extraordinary idea. Instead of writing about battles that had already been fought, this unknown Roman sat down and wrote a book explaining how the empire could still be saved. Today we know it as De Rebus Bellicis, or On Matters of War. Nobody knows who wrote it, but whoever it was understood the Roman army remarkably well. The manuscript is filled with drawings of armored warships, portable bridges, mobile ballistae, armored wagons, and even an ox-powered paddle boat. Some ideas sound surprisingly practical, others seem impossible for the time. The strange part is that the book was almost completely ignored. Rome eventually fell, while the identity of the man who believed he had the answer disappeared along with it. Number 13. Hy-Brasil, the island that vanished. Maps are supposed to settle mysteries, not create them. But for nearly 500 years, European mapmakers kept drawing an island that no one has ever been able to find. They called it Hy-Brasil, placing it west of Ireland with surprising confidence. It first appeared on maps in the 14th century, and many sailors claimed they had seen it through the Atlantic mist. Some even insisted they had landed there. Irish folklore described it as a place hidden by fog, visible only once every 7 years. Other stories spoke of unusual knowledge, immense wealth, and people unlike anyone on the mainland. As navigation improved, ship after ship searched the waters where Hy-Brasil was supposed to be. But nothing was there. Some researchers think unusual sea mirages may have fooled generations of sailors. Others believe mapmakers simply copied one another's mistakes until fiction looked like fact. Whatever happened, an island that probably never existed shaped real voyages, appeared on countless charts, and left behind one question that still has no certain answer. Why did so many people believe they had seen it? Number 12. The Burke and Hare murder dolls. What do you think about them? Do they look creepy or just like ordinary toys? Back in 1836, 3 boys searching for rabbit holes on Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh stumbled across something they never expected. Hidden inside a small rocky opening were tiny wooden coffins, each holding a carefully dressed doll. There were originally 17 of them, although the boys unknowingly destroyed several before anyone realized they might be important. Only 8 survive today. Every doll had been wrapped like a body prepared for burial, and every coffin had been carved by hand with remarkable care. Before long, people connected them to the infamous Burke and Hare murders, in which 17 victims were killed and secretly sold to Dr. Robert Knox for anatomical study. The timing certainly fits, but the details don't. Most of Burke and Hare's victims were women, while the dolls appear to represent men. Other theories link them to sailors lost at sea, victims of the Radical War of 1820, or even old Celtic burial rituals. Nearly 2 centuries later, nobody knows who made them, or why they were hidden there. Number 11. The spear that changed empires. There are a lot of legendary swords in history, from Excalibur to Turfing, but very few spears. This one is different. According to Christian tradition, the Holy Lance is the weapon used by a Roman soldier to pierce Jesus' side during the crucifixion. That single moment turned an ordinary spear into one of the most sought-after relics ever known. Centuries later, rulers began believing that whoever possessed the lance would hold victory, authority, and even the right to rule. Several relics claimed to be the genuine spear appeared across Europe, passing through emperors, crusaders, and royal collections. One version eventually reached Vienna, where it caught the attention of Adolf Hitler after Germany annexed Austria in 1938. Legend says he believed the lance carried extraordinary power and made sure it remained under Nazi control throughout the war. Whether that story is true is still debated. What isn't disputed is that multiple holy lances exist today, each claiming to be the authentic relic. They can't all be genuine, but none has ever completely silenced the others. So where did the real Spear of Destiny end up? Number 10. The forgotten mega-cities of Europe. When someone says the world's first cities, most people immediately think of Mesopotamia or ancient Egypt. That's the version of history many of us grew up with. But across modern Ukraine and Moldova, archaeologists have uncovered something that doesn't fit that timeline very well. We mean more than 6,000 years ago, the Cucuteni Tripilia people were building enormous settlements arranged in giant circles. Some stretched across several square kilometers, with thousands of houses carefully planned around open spaces. A few researchers believe the largest may have held as many as 15,000 to 20,000 people, although those estimates are still debated. Then something even harder to explain happened. These communities vanished like smoke. Many of their houses appear to have been deliberately burned before being abandoned. There is no written language that survives to tell us why. Was it part of a ritual? Did the land stop producing enough food? Or were they forced to leave by newcomers? Their cities disappeared thousands of years before history began recording its own story, taking the answers with them. Number 9. The Waregagwar, a forgotten god without a story. Have you ever looked at an ancient carving and wondered what the people who made it actually believed? That's the issue with the Olmec. They left behind enormous stone heads, beautifully carved jade figures, and monuments unlike anything else in early Mesoamerica. What they didn't leave behind were books explaining any of it. One figure appears more often than almost anything else, a strange being with the face of an infant and the features of a jaguar. Archaeologists call it the Warejaguar. But that's only a modern name. Nobody knows what the Olmec themselves called it. Some researchers think it represented a rain or maize deity. Others believe it symbolized shamans transforming into powerful spirit animals during religious rituals. An older theory even suggested it was the child of a woman and a jaguar, though that idea has largely fallen out of favor. The frustrating part is that every explanation relies on interpretation rather than certainty. Without written records, the Olmec's religion survives only in stone. Number 8. The Green Man, Europe's forgotten face well. We all know the famous Mask of Tut, the giant stone heads of the Olmecs, and the statues of Easter Island. But Europe has a mysterious face of its own, and unlike those monuments, no one can say with certainty who it belongs to. It's known today as the Green Man. For hundreds of years, stonemasons carved the same strange face into churches, castles, and cathedrals across Europe. Sometimes leaves grow from his mouth. Other times they're woven through his beard, eyes, and hair until the face almost disappears beneath the foliage. The odd thing is that no medieval text explains who he was or why he kept appearing. Some historians think he's a surviving symbol of Europe's pagan past, tied to nature, fertility, and the return of spring. Others believe he was simply a popular decorative design with no forgotten religion behind it. Whatever the answer, one mystery hasn't changed. Why did so many craftsmen keep carving the same unknown face into some of Europe's greatest buildings without ever leaving behind its story? Number 7. The Tomb of Vlad Dracula. Well, most people know Dracula as the vampire from Bram Stoker's novel. The real man was far more complicated, and arguably even more frightening. Vlad III, better known as Vlad the Impaler, ruled Wallachia during the 15th century and became infamous for executing his enemies by impalement. Historians estimate that anywhere from 40,000 to 100,000 people died under his rule, although the exact number is still debated. In 1476, Vlad was killed while fighting the Ottoman Empire near present-day Bucharest. The Ottomans reportedly cut off his head and sent it to Sultan Mehmed II as proof that he was dead. After that, the trail goes cold. Most historians believe his body was buried at Snegov Monastery, but excavations there failed to uncover his remains. Others point to Komana Monastery, built by Vlad himself, but no convincing evidence has ever been found there either. The man who inspired Dracula has one final mystery attached to his name. Nobody on Earth knows where his body actually rests. Number 6. Göbekli Tepe. The town older than Göbekli Tepe, Turkey's Göbekli Tepe, has long been considered one of the oldest settlements on Earth. But that belief has been challenged by another discovery only a short distance away. It's called Göbekli Tepe, or Beaded Field, and some archaeologists believe people were already living there nearly 12,000 years ago, making it possibly even older than Göbekli Tepe itself. The site was discovered by chance in 2008 during surveys connected to the Ilsu Dam project, and excavations began a few years later. What researchers uncovered was anything but a simple village. They found large communal buildings that many believe served a ceremonial purpose: stone houses, decorative beads, obsidian tools, flint arrowheads, and even evidence of an early drainage system. That's an impressive level of planning for such a distant period. Even more interesting, Göbekli Tepe shares striking similarities with nearby sites like Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe, suggesting these communities were connected far earlier than anyone once imagined. The biggest question now isn't whether the settlement existed, it's who these people really were, and how advanced their society had already become. Well, human history is weird. Number 5. The mystery of Sao Civilization Africa has many stories that were never written down. That's one reason some of its greatest civilizations are still surrounded by questions. The Sao are a perfect example. For nearly 2,000 years, from around the 6th century BC until the 15th century AD, they lived around the Lake Chad Basin between present-day Cameroon, Chad, and northeastern Nigeria. Archaeologists have uncovered impressive pottery, bronze and iron tools, stone sculptures, jewelry, and large fortified settlements, showing that the Sao were skilled craftsmen and active traders. Yet for a civilization that lasted so long, surprisingly little is known about the people themselves. No written language has ever been linked to them, leaving their history almost entirely in the hands of archaeology and oral tradition. The Kotoko people, who are thought to be among their descendants, tell stories of the Sao as a race of giants with extraordinary strength. Whether that's folklore or a distant memory of an influential person is impossible to say. Number 4. The Amber Room gold has always been valuable. But this treasure wasn't made from gold at all. It was built almost entirely from amber, earning the nickname the Eighth Wonder of the World. Created in Prussia in the early 1700s, the Amber Room was later presented to Peter the Great and eventually installed inside the Catherine Palace near St. Petersburg, covering more than 55 square meters and decorated with around 6 tons of carved Baltic amber. It was one of the most extraordinary rooms ever created. Then World War II changed everything. When German forces invaded the Soviet Union in 1941, museum staff tried to protect the room by hiding it behind wallpaper. But the Nazis already knew what they were looking for. They dismantled every panel and transported the room to Nigsburg Castle. After that, the story becomes a mystery. Heavy bombing destroyed much of the city, and the Amber Room vanished. Number 3. The Lost Kings of Rome. Every nation has an origin story, but Rome's earliest rulers remain trapped between history and legend. Nearly everyone knows the tale of Romulus and Remus, but once the city's foundation is behind us, certainty quickly disappears. Rome was said to have been ruled by 7 kings before the Republic, but the records that could have confirmed their reigns were lost centuries ago. Ancient tradition blames the Gallic sack of Rome in 390 BC, when fires supposedly destroyed temples, archives, and official documents. Later historians like Livy had little choice but to rebuild the past from oral traditions, scattered inscriptions, and religious accounts. That makes it almost impossible to separate genuine history from political storytelling. Archaeology confirms that early Rome existed. Structures on the Palatine Hill and engineering works like the Cloaca Maxima belong to the same period. But they cannot tell us whether Romulus, Numa Pompilius, or Tarquinius Superbus truly ruled as history claims. Well, without the missing royal chronicles, Rome's first kings remain one of history's greatest unanswered mysteries. Number 2. The collapse of the Bronze Age. Imagine waking up in one of history's greatest civilizations, only to watch it disappear within a single generation. Around 1200 BC, that nightmare became reality. Powerful kingdoms that had ruled the Mediterranean for centuries suddenly crumbled. The Hittites vanished, Mycenaean Greece collapsed, cities like Ugarit burned to the ground, and even Egypt barely survived. Ancient Egyptian inscriptions blamed mysterious invaders known as the Sea Peoples. They arrived with ships, wagons, and entire families, suggesting this wasn't a simple invasion but a mass migration. But who they really were is still unknown. Were they pirates, refugees escaping famine, or desperate survivors from falling kingdoms? The mystery runs even deeper. Climate change, earthquakes, civil unrest, and broken trade routes all struck at roughly the same time. Many historians now think the Sea Peoples weren't the true cause, but only one piece of a much larger disaster. Number 1. Ashurbanipal's lost library well. About 2,600 years ago, the Assyrian king Ashurbanipal decided he wanted something few rulers cared about: He didn't collect gold, girls, or monuments. He collected knowledge. Scribes were sent across his empire to copy and gather every important text they could find. Myths, medical remedies, astronomy, religious rituals, royal letters, dictionaries, even old Sumerian works that were already ancient in his own lifetime, all found a place inside his library at Nineveh. When the city fell in 612 BC, fire swept through the palace. Ironically, that disaster preserved thousands of clay tablets by baking them harder. Archaeologists rediscovered them in the 19th century, including the Epic of Gilgamesh. Yet that's only part of the story. Tens of thousands of fragments still remain untranslated or incomplete. Somewhere among them could be forgotten histories, scientific observations, or myths nobody has read for over 2,000 years. The library survived. Its secrets, in many cases, still haven't been recovered. If you found this video interesting, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.